everybody, as you can see I'm sat on my bed. That's because the builders outside the living room window have been particularly noisy today. So yeah, I thought I'd just do this in here instead. Feel like Zoella. Maybe get some lipstick on and talk about... I don't know what she talks about. Let's crack on, shall we? I don't intend to moan about noise in every video. It's just going to take a bit of getting used to, I think. So this video, technically, I guess, is an ad. I mean, I'm not about to say this video is sponsored by Squarespace. They haven't called. But what I am going to do is mention this, which is a calendar including some of my favourite images for 2018. This isn't the finished product, as you can see. It's sort of just pages. It's not bound together. The finished product will be bound together. This is also the third proof I've had because I keep spelling calendar wrong. Never realised it was calendar. Always thought it was calendar. So yeah, the point of this video is twofold really. One, to mention this, the fact that I've got it and it's for sale. I'll put a link in the description. But also to talk about some of the images within it, because over the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, I've gradually got more and more interest in my images, which is really flattering. A lot of the time it's sort of on social media, or I get emails asking questions about my images, or sometimes I appear in blogs and things like magazines. Like this Korean one, I can't remember what I said in it, and I can't read it because it's all in squiggly lines. So hopefully they didn't change any of my quotes. Yeah. And it's always lovely getting interest in my images, and increasingly I've noticed over the past sort of month or two that on this channel I'm getting more questions about specific images of mine, how I came up with them, how long they took to make, why I decided to make them, where did the idea come from, blah 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 blah, that kind of thing. And so it was my intention to do a video discussing some of my favourite images and answering those questions, and I just thought I'd hold off until I had that calendar, given that the calendar features most of the most common ones that I get asked about. So I thought I'd go through the calendar and just talk about some of the images in it. Not all of them, because, well, I imagine you've got stuff to do. So here goes. January. I've done a video about that, so I mean, you can watch the video about that one if you like. It was one of my early ones. It's not great, so I won't be offended if you don't. February is an image called High Life, which, well, it's just a hot air balloon on a map. There's not really an interesting story behind that one. March, Zone 334, probably my favourite image that I've ever created actually, certainly my best-selling print. I think I mentioned that when I was at Lake Cravnant in Wales a few months ago filming a video. And the reason I mentioned this image at Lake Cravnant is because I got the background image for this shot at Lake Cravnant. The foreground image I got in Piccadilly Circus. Now this background one was taken in March, as you may have expected, because it's the March image, but the background one wasn't taken until July, and that's because I found the perfect tube station in Piccadilly Circus. It's quite difficult to get a clear image of the tube station in Piccadilly Circus with no people in it at any time of day. So my only option was to wait until the height of summer and go and stand in Piccadilly Circus at 5 AM on a Sunday morning, which I duly did, and you can imagine the number of drunk people that you have to contend with who are just spilling out of nightclubs and stuff. But to be honest, that wasn't the sight that sticks with me from that particular morning. It was turning round after hearing a bicycle bell to see a bloke, probably in his late 60s, just cycling along with nothing on. I mean, to his credit, he had a helmet. No idea what he was doing. Seeing the sights, maybe. I saw the sights. April is an image called Spring Sprung. It was one of my first ever composites actually. It's a relatively simple one. I've just got a spring image in the lenses and a winter image without. So I got the winter image in January. Because it was one of my first composites, I didn't really know the rules, and well, I forgot to sort of mark where this image was taken, and therefore in April, when I came to get the spring shot, it took me about 2 hours to find where I'd taken the winter shot, which was a bit of an inconvenience. May is an image called Jaywalking. Now this image, it wasn't actually taken in May, it was taken in November, but it was taken in Sydney, and in Sydney, November is sort of like May in the Northern Hemisphere, sort of early summer. And the thought behind this image was, well, basically, I don't know if you've ever been to Sydney, but there are thousands and thousands of laws, just laws about everything. And one of them is quite a strict law about jaywalking. They have police on every street corner making sure that you're not jaywalking. And I wanted to do a concept about that, didn't really know how to pull it together until Emily and I went to the zoo. I got a decent image of an elephant, and it struck me that if I was an elephant, I'd pay absolutely zero attention to laws like jaywalking. So this image came about from it. Now the background image looks relatively simple to get, but it was a sunny, busy Monday, and at these traffic lights to get an image with no pedestrians, no cars and a red light all in the same image, well, I had to be quite patient. And you might think, well, why didn't you just get the elements and then stitch them together in post? That would have required a tripod, and I don't know for sure, but there's probably a law against tripods in Sydney too, so I didn't really want to take the chance of a huge fine. June's a pretty simple one, to be honest. It's the London Eye looks like a bike wheel. In fact, the best thing I think about this image actually is the name, Tired of London, but spelt sort of tired. I can't take credit for that. One of my Instagram followers came up with it. Thank you very much, because that's an awesome name. July is an image called Global Warming. This again was shot at a beach in Sydney, so in July it was height of winter, and the irony of this image is that even though it was winter and it's called Global Warming, I got burnt while putting it together. So I used a football to get the focus right, and this shadow in the corner. The image of the world obviously isn't mine. I don't have a contact at NASA. August, another good name, I think, Electricity. It's just a dead tree and I've hooked it up to this pylon, so it looks like it's on the national grid. I didn't really put two and two together until I got here, to be honest. I wanted to shoot the tree, I didn't realise how close it was to this pylon, and so just sort of adding wires to the tree seemed like a natural progression. The name is probably the strongest part of this image, Electricity. September is, well, it's another strong name actually. Sort of playing on this theme of city and countryside again, like I did in Zone 334. It's one of my favourite things to do, because in these kinds of images I'm looking for juxtapositions and irony, because they tend to bring out humour quite well. And city and countryside is quite a good juxtaposition to play around with. It kind of brings out some interesting ideas. This one in particular, when I went to go and shoot in London, this is around Waterloo Station where all the graffiti is, and there were probably, I don't know, like 50 people, all sort of openly graffitiing, middle of the day, and I don't actually know whether it's illegal or not, so I sort of made sure that I kept my distance from them. I didn't want to be lumped in with them if the bobbies turned up. I mean, they were all very friendly, I just didn't know if they were breaking the law. But yeah, got this image, and then this stream, as I said, got in Wales maybe the week before, stitched them together, and the name, yeah, I'm quite pleased with the name, Illegal Streaming. Although, like I say, I don't know if graffiti is actually illegal here. I hope it is, because then the name would make more sense. October is the only concept in the calendar that I can't take any credit for the photography for. I had to use stock images after a few hiccups trying to get airside at various airports. I just wasn't allowed, basically. And it came together because I wanted to do a concept called Late Departure. Now, a lot of the time I come up with the name of the concept before an actual concept. I don't know why, but I think of names and then I kind of start brainstorming from there on what I could do to try and represent that name. This one came to bear because I was thinking of what I could do for a concept called Late Departure while coming across this image in a coffee shop while I was enjoying a nice latte, and I thought, wow, that engine looks a little bit like my coffee cup. And the rest is history. And Late Departure very quickly became Latte Departure. November, Packing Light. This is basically the result of a dispute I had with a budget airline about my carry-on. I mean, I don't know if you can sort of tell what I was getting at. And December, to wrap things up, is an image called London's Burning. It's just a candle on top of St Paul's, really. I mean, to be honest, the wax doesn't really make sense because you sort of think, well, where's the wax coming from? But I think it looks quite cool. I mean, it took me a year pretty much to work out how to do the wax, and in the end I just used a ping pong ball and had wax dripping down it. It wasn't all that complicated, but it took a while to think about. And yeah, I've just realised I could have just used the back cover to go through all of those rather than the pages. Never mind. So yeah, that's the calendar. Link, as I said, in the description. I'm quite excited about it because it's my first one, and as a result of being my first one, I've basically been able to draw on not just images from the past year, but all of my favourite images that I've ever created. So it's maybe the best calendar I'll ever do. All downhill from here, I guess. So yeah, if you think that might make a decent Christmas present, or you're just looking for a calendar that's a bit different, I urge you to have a look at that if you're at all interested. I mean, to be honest, I thought it was quite expensive when I worked out the costs and the shipping and stuff. And it is expensive for a calendar. I think it's like $22.99. And if you go into a shop and buy like a Harry Styles calendar, you're gonna get one for significantly cheaper. But you know, he sells like tens of millions, and I'm looking to sell tens. So it's quite difficult to have the same pricing structure. And also I'm going to sign all of the ones I sell, unless you don't want me to sign yours. Just let me know in one of the ways on the internet. And even if Harry Styles signed his, you know, which signature's worth more? Don't answer that. Can you hear that beep? Oh, and another train. Can you get refunds on flats? Anyway, if you have any more questions about the images that I've spoken about, or any other images that don't appear in the calendar and you just want to know something about them, let me know. I'd be more than happy to talk about them and myself. But thank you for watching. I know that sometimes watching people try and sell you things on YouTube can sort of make you feel a bit nauseous. It does me. And I think if you've watched this far, then hopefully you've not felt like that.